Joyra Castillo, Deputy Head of Mission of Panama. Jacqueline Guardia Martinez, Acting Director, Institute of International Relations, UWI. Ms. Joanne David, Director of the On-the-Job Training Program. Dr. Andre Vincent Henry, Director of the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies. Dr. Mark Kirton, Senior Lecturer of the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies. Dr. Marlon Anatol, Senior Lecturer, also at the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, good afternoon, and thank you for your patience as we launch the changing political and socio-economic environment in the Caribbean and Latin America, prospects and challenges. To open our program of our book launch today, I now invite the Director of the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies, Dr. Andre Vincent Henry, to the podium. And in the time it takes to walk here, my name is Eshuyemi Ogubanke. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am very pleased to welcome you to the CLR James Auditorium here at the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies. It is a special honor to welcome back to the college my friend and former colleague, Dr. Raymond Mark Kirton. I continue to be deeply indebted to Mark for his generosity, and I greatly value his advice and counsel as we write a new chapter in the life of Cipriani College by finding a louder and clearer voice in support of social justice in these very challenging times for the world and the Caribbean. Mark and his collaborator, my former student and dear friend, Dr. Marlon Anatol, by associating their scholarly endeavors and successes, have infused our search for interpreting the Caribbean reality with context and rigor, and I thank them most sincerely. The three of us, and here I apologize to Mark and Marlon for making bold to put myself in the same league with them, come from an anchoring discipline of another IR, not industrial relations, but international relations. For us, understanding context is critical. In the words of a preacher, if you take context, I can't remember the quote. I had a big birthday on Monday, so. and then before we came here, Marlon insisted we drink a bottle of wine. But context is critical, certainly as an academic with a history in international relations. And we understand even on islands are not islands. More so these days when one sneeze can infect the entire globe. Mark and Marlon have been exceptional in painting a broad contextual backdrop and placing the Caribbean in it, helping us here at the college to think about the things that are important for the Caribbean and important for Caribbean thought and freedom, to paraphrase the late Lloyd Bess. Impressively, they have a commitment for nurturing scholarship and for taking time to help younger academics and practitioners find their voice. This is a generosity that fits well with the ethos that is the foundation of what makes Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies special. So welcome, my friends.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Henry, for that wonderful opening and setting the context for the book which is being launched today. to provide a review of that book is going to happen actually remotely. Anthony Gonzalez, who has worked as a lecturer and then a senior lecturer at the Institute of International Relations beginning in 1973 to 1978, and as well from 1982 to 2003, where he taught international trade. He is also a former acting director of the Institute of International Relations of the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine, from 2000 to 2003, and also served as the interim director of the Institute of IR at UE St. Augustine from June 2011 to December 2012. He was also the World Trade Organization Director of and representative of the Caribbean Regional Negotiating Machinery in Geneva. He has published 52 academic articles, 4 books, 55 technical papers and reports, and supervised 16 MSc and PhD theses, or would that be theses? Who can correct me on that? We'll find out. He's also worked as a consultant to several national, regional, and international organizations. Let us turn our attention to the screen now for the review by Anthony Peter Gonzalez.
risk that will continue to highlight diversity in the approaches to energy security. Finally, the significance of engaging the diaspora in the era of COVID is examined. Trinidad and Tobago is regarded as a country that has not adequately mobilized its diaspora as compared to the other Caribbean countries. As a result, Trinidad and Tobago is expected to have a much lesser capacity for mitigating some of the socio-economic fallout from the pandemic. An integrated approach to transnational engagement, targeting the sizable diaspora, and working in collaboration with the public and private sector while supporting the work of civil society groups is recommended in this regard. In conclusion, these 10 chapters do contribute to our understanding of the issues raised here. They provide different perspectives as well as solutions to common challenges that most, if not all, states face in the region and even beyond this region. This presentation just gives a minimal insight into the wealth of work done in this publication and so willingly shared by all the authors and contributors. I can only hope that scholars, practitioners, and all others will see the same value in it as I have discovered. Finally, my congratulations to the editors and the contributors for your time and effort. I'm sure that it will not go unnoticed and you will be handsomely rewarded. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gonzalez. And as he noted, this is heavy. It's a lot. I mean, border issues, crime, COVID recovery, energy, governance, aging diaspora. That is a lot. And what strikes me about this is that having that information compiled in one book is excellent for those of us who want to delve deeper and look at issues and how we might even possibly affect some sort of change as we go forward. So thank you very much for that review, Mr. Gonzalez. At this time, I would invite Dr. Kirton to provide his reflections on the book.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Distinguished colleagues at the table, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished audience who are here with us and online. I would like to say also what time for my colleagues in Brazil, Paulo, to my colleagues in Suriname and elsewhere, Buenos tardes to Spanish-speaking colleagues, and bonjour to those in the French-speaking Caribbean. I would like first to thank, once again, the director and staff of the Socio-Economic College of Labor and Co-Operative Studies for partnering with us at this event, at which we launch another book, the changing political and socio-economic environment in the Caribbean and Latin America. I think this reflects an ongoing commitment of the college and its directorate to knowledge production and knowledge sharing. I would at the same time like to thank Dr. Gonzalez who reviewed the book, which indeed our reward is satisfaction at the outcome, and it's given us, I think, some food for thought in a sense, that we can extend the research to other areas which can enhance understanding among the people of the region in which we live. At the same time, I wish to publicly commend the initiative and commitment of my Brazilian colleague, Professor Paulo Correa, and the Federal University of Amapá, and the Brazilian authorities for generously providing resources to facilitate this publication, which culminates today with this event. Further, I wish to thank Professor Paulo and the other co-author, my friend and brother, Dr. Marlon Anatol, not only for their scholarly contributions, but for dedication to the process, which made our collaborative work pleasant and satisfying. I know there were long nights sometimes online where we had to look at these issues, discuss some of the editorial work, but always with one of my colleagues having some wine, and I saw him online with the wine, and the other, we looking at working, as they say, burning the midnight oil to ensure that the publication is timely and continue to be relevant. I recall during the stages of our discussion late last year, there was consensus that we had to encourage research and scholarly assessment and make it widely available in both the Caribbean and Latin America. I got very excited, without the wine, when Professor Paulo Gustavo quickly responded that there was the availability of some funding to offset some of the publishing costs. We moved the editing process along quickly, and thanks to the efficient work of NEPAN Publishers of Brazil, who worked assiduously with us, we were able to bring this work from conceptualization to completion in a very short time. Thanks again to NEPAN. As we have observed on previous occasions, including an occasion which I stood at this very podium, that we recognize the importance of collaboration between the Caribbean and Latin America, and equally as important, cooperation with Brazil as an important component of the wider regional integration agenda. We believe that this initiative, this book, this publication, can serve as a catalyst for sustained engagement and joint research activity among scholars and professionals in this region. As I've also observed elsewhere, traditionally, Caribbean-Latin American relations have been characterized by a sense of separateness and a cultural and economic distance, which have served to constrain the emergence and development of strong and sustained linkages. I think they also refer to us as distant cousins, which I think that relationship must change. So we saw a constraining arrangement. And even though a convergence of interests and strong efforts at new regional approaches, such as the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, appeared in the first decade of the 21st century, regrettably, there's been a loss of momentum in the regional integration process and globally. And I don't think the Caribbean and Latin America have been spared from this loss, this pushback in the integration process over the last 5 years. However, I see this collaborative effort with today's launch as a small but significant step which we are confident can jumpstart new efforts at regional cooperation. Indeed, today we see the research production in this book from scholars from Brazil, Suriname, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Cuba, and the United States on a range of contemporary themes, ranging from border issues, democratic governance, migration, regional integration, energy policy, citizen security, and the diaspora. This publication presents a range of perspectives and offers recommendations which can contribute to the reshaping of the region's approaches to the common challenges which must be confronted in this changing regional and global environment. This book, to my mind, could not have come at a more opportune and appropriate moment as the hemisphere responds to the global COVID-19 pandemic, the challenges of food and energy security, issues related to forced migration, the rise in transnational organized crime, among other common threats and challenges. I posit that publications of this type are important, particularly against the background of the dearth of literature related to these issues. And this is a small attempt to address that gap. I commend the scholars and professionals and practitioners whose research appears in this publication, and wish to implore the young scholars and practitioners and professionals once again in our midst and online to participate actively in evidence-based research and use every opportunity to publish the results of your studies. I urge you to be strong, provide critical thinking, and equally important, demonstrate tolerance to criticism. This journey in collaboration has been most rewarding, and I thank all those who contributed, and I know that Ambassador Rogers, I thank him in advance as he will be next on, and all those who contributed positively to this publication and to this event. And I wish once again to thank all who are attending this evening's event, and to those who made it possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Kirton, for your reflections. The reflections included the book provides food for thought, need for continued research and scholarly discourse. The catalyst is a catalyst for sustained collaboration. It provides a range of perspectives and solutions. But I have to admit that the one thing that stood out most in his reflections is the wine. It seems important. Seems important. And he also started introducing our next contributor, who will be joining us virtually, former Ambassador Peter Rogers. Let me tell you a little bit about Ambassador. He is or has a 25-year diplomatic career, including postings to Bangladesh, Indonesia, Egypt, Jamaica, and Israel. He served as Australian High Commissioner to the Caribbean in the early 1990s, based in Kingston, and Australia's ambassador to Israel in the mid-1990s. Mr. Rogers has also worked as a journalist, writer, and academic, and is a past winner of the Australian Journalist of the Year Award. Between 2010 and 2014, he was closely involved in facilitating an intensive training program for Caribbean diplomats developed by the Australian National University and the University of the West Indies. Former ambassador has written 6 books of fiction and non-fiction and is currently working on a novel. So let us welcome virtually former ambassador Peter Rogers.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to, a very practical question, is the volume okay? I get a thumbs up on the volume?
Yes, it is.
I'll proceed. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm in very distinguished company. I know diplomats, practitioners, academics. I'm deeply honoured to be invited to be with you, and greetings from a chilly, very early morning, winter's morning from East Coast Australia. That's the sun rising over my shoulders. I'm so happy to be here and to participate in this ceremony because it touches on two important pillars of my life. One is books, and the other is the impact of living in the Caribbean on my professional and personal journey, my worldview, if you like. And I'll just unpick that a little. Nowadays I spend much of my time writing, and I know firsthand the extraordinary endeavour that goes into the creation of a book, particularly as one as timely and as wide-ranging as this, and demanding the collaborative endeavour that lies behind it. So my very, very sincere and warm congratulations to everyone involved in bringing this important project to fruition, especially, if I may single out Dr. Paulo Correa, Dr. Mark Kirton and Dr. Marlon Anatol. I first arrived in the Caribbean in late 1990. I won't pretend I knew a great deal about the region there, but I did understand that there was a lot more to it than just rum and cricket. That within the Caribbean and the broader region lay thick seams of historical and ethnic complexity and examples of the best and the worst sides of human behaviour. This complexity, I think, was one beautifully summed up by a comment by the famous Barbadian author George Lanning, who died only recently. He once wrote, "I do not think," this is a quote, "I do not think there has been in human history quite anything in human history quite like the meeting of Africa, Asia and Europe in this American archipelago we call the Caribbean." That comment helps to explain why I regard my 3 years as the Australian High Commissioner in the region as one of the most intensely rewarding periods in my life. I learned a lot. And so I was so pleased in 2009, 2010, when my links with the Caribbean were renewed, when I had the privilege and the fun of being involved with the training program for Caribbean diplomats, jointly developed and delivered by the University of the West Indies and the Australian National University. And that was a project which brought me to close contact and rewarding friendships with Dr. Mark Kirton and Dr. Anatol, and my dear colleague and friend from the Australian National University, Andrea Hayes, who I think is with us this afternoon. What was emerged then, 2010, for me, being back in the region, being engaged with the region, was a theme that lies at the heart of this invaluable book. And that is that the horizons imposed by colonial history in the Caribbean and Latin America had to be adjusted, had to be broken and remade. That the economic and community needs of Caribbean and Latin American states continue to be best served by seeing themselves and being seen by those outside the region as part of a whole. Now, there are a couple of obvious macro drivers in this. One is the fight against COVID. And I'd note here there was a comment by the Regional Forum on Sustainable Development, which described, a recent comment, which described Latin America and the Caribbean, and this is the quote, as the developing region most affected by COVID-19 from a health, economic and social point of view, unquote. In discussion about COVID, we frequently hear the comment that no one is safe until everyone is safe. In my view, exactly the same thinking applies to the challenge of climate change. These two macro issues cannot be tackled effectively without close regional as well as international cooperation. But cooperation is often much easier said than done. And I think the authors of this finally recognise that the regional diversity and politics can easily get in the way. The politics can involve state-to-state hostility, such as the border dispute between Brazil and Guyana, which has been noted. But it could also involve political structures. One example being, and there's a quote from the book, the diversity within Latin American countries is amplified by the participation in CELAC of Caribbean nations, some of which keep Queen Elizabeth as their head of state. Now, I have to confess personally, as an ardent Republican, that struck a chord with me. And I know the challenges of having to work within a monarchical system. That's leaving that element aside. Where this leads, I think, is towards the notion of meaningful cooperation, accepting the idea, the principle of unity in diversity. We must accept that, I think, to be able to cooperate effectively regionally. That's a term I first encountered nearly 50 years ago when I was posted to Indonesia. And I was really struck in a very pleasant way when I read the reference to unity and diversity in the book, because that is Indonesia's national motto. It's a country of extraordinary ethnic, linguistic and social diversity. Its national motto, Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, translates as unity and diversity. And I think that's an important element to have in our minds when we're talking about regional, let alone international cooperation. But a particular strength of this book is discussion around the question, what sort of regions? There is no tidy answer, whether we're looking at a small region or a large region. It depends, quite rightly, on the particular challenge. What is the issue? And I think there is very important examination in this volume, the book, of what's described as functional regionalism. I think it's a very useful term. Functional regionalism to counter common threats from transnational organised crime, human trafficking, undocumented migration, which I think is termed the unholy treatment. These issues, those of the unholy triangle, were certainly around when I was first posted in the Caribbean. But it seems to me their capacity to undermine legitimate authority and community well-being has, I don't know how much it's increased, but it certainly has not diminished. And in looking at the 6th Summit of Heads of Government State of the CELAC in September 21, the book observes, and this is another quote, at the end, the recognition of the importance of having CELAC as a forum for collective discussions at the highest level outweigh the option of non-dialogue. Now, when we first read that, think about it, that may not sound very profound, but it is. No matter how obvious the challenges of pursuing regional cooperation and the inevitable disappointments, the alternative of going your own way is a lot worse. I could make mention here of recent examples, the unilateralism of Donald Trump, Boris Johnson, and Vladimir Putin, but I won't. I'll just leave that thought hanging there. They make the point for all of us. The authors of this file have done a tremendous job of explaining the political, economic, and social dynamics of Caribbean and Latin American states. It is a significant resource for all those interested in the region. I said this to Mark Kirton and to Marlon a couple of weeks ago when we were having a chat on the phone, how I would have welcomed a volume such as this when I first arrived in the Caribbean 3 decades ago. what a tremendous resource for those living permanently in the region or those passing through the region in whatever capacity, official or unofficial. So I think the demand is to make sure this fine volume ends up in every official, diplomatic, semi-diplomatic office throughout the region. I'll draw to a close there by saying how honoured I am to be involved in this important ceremony and how honoured I am to launch the changing political and socio-economic environment in the Caribbean and Latin America, prospects and challenges. Again, I warmly congratulate all those who played a part in the creation of this book. It deserves a wide reach. I hope there will be a successor volume in the years to come, and I hope I will still be around to read it. Thank you very much for listening to me, for inviting me to be part of this important occasion, and congratulations. Well, thank you.
Thank you so very much, Ambassador Rogers. I am actually going to echo one of the early things he said. I learned a lot from listening to him. Some of the standout things, and I would love to have some lights back, because my eyes aren't that good. Thank you. Yeah, but some of the things I learned, thank you. The horizons imposed by colonialism need to be broken. Very important. Unity and diversity. Very important. What sort of regions? What are the issues? Functional regionalism. All of these are keys that will allow us to unlock and change the future as we go forward. And as Ambassador mentioned, this book is a tremendous resource and should be in all diplomatic missions. It's also something that I think is important for everybody, because at some point we are affected by the issues of the region, and the more people who are aware is the more we can make changes. So, I think I've said enough. Let me allow Senior Lecturer Dr. Marlon Anatol to provide the closing statements. Dr. Anatol.
Good afternoon, friends, well-wishers. Our piece of paper, a small piece of paper. I start the law protocols observed as per usual. This was a little strange for me after we did one a couple months ago. Here, in the same place. There's a series of things that happened, a series of conversations, as the master said. And let me start by saying it's a little weird coming after two dogs, the ambassador and the other dog, three of which have taught me, and one who's become a friend and colleague from Australia, who's also injury trained. So having said that, I will be relatively brief. No, I won't. Okay. So again, I look around, I see friends, well-wishers, I see students, I see colleagues, I see friends, I see people who are interested in change and development and Caribbean immigration and immigration. We all have different things that we think about, different things that we do, but at the end of the day, we try to make this place better. And that's what we spent our lives trying to do. Every time this question, well, what is this city?
But I'll stick to my script. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this journey, because what we do here is a journey. It's not an end game, it's not determined in any way, but it's pretty cool. And what we do here is by inviting particularly young scholars and older scholars like myself, is that we try to engage conversation. We try to have hope and discourse, talk about paradigms, talk about different ideas of how the region being Caribbean and Latin America, how that will go. It's a mixing of minds, perspectives, arguments, a lot of the times. My two seniors to my left. But it's pretty cool. This publication, to me, in my mind, like the last one, has garnered much support from commentators to date, and to a large extent, it does humble me. Because for those who know me, I think I know a lot. I think I know a lot more than I do know. But the depth of research, the depth of creativity, the depth of commitment, it is actually humbling. But at the same time, it energizes me to a lot more than I have done, and probably more than I thought I could do. But again, with contributors and with seniors saying, let's go forth, let's produce, let's conversate, let's argue, let's see what the region could be. Because for those of us who would have studied history of politics or social sciences, we knew where we were 50 years ago, and we see where we are now. I think it's a responsibility of all of us in whatever we do, academics, practitioners, bankers, street sweepers, do better, as one of my kids say. So, I said I wouldn't be long. Okay, so the authors, I appreciate your devotion to scholarly pursuits about the contemporary issues that we're talking about here. And I know it took a lot of work, a lot of editing, a lot of soul searching, going back to all the things that we thought we knew, the things we know. We looked at the region over the last 50 years, and I think we produced a body of work here which is fantastic. And fundamentally, I'm confident. I am absolutely confident that the region where we live, both Caribbean and Latin America, will be better off if we learn to listen. And I think that's what this publication is about. It's about listening. It's not about thinking you're authority or an expert. You're not, or we are not. It's a conversation that we're having, and a conversation that we must have. As I proceed quickly. And I'm motivated to continue this work with scholars around the region. And I've been assured by my director, Dr. Henry, that Cipriani College will maintain its focus, its contribution, its dedication to scholarly work which is related to regional development in whatever area. The college does a lot of stuff, but fundamentally we're looking at progressing the region and making this a better place in the future. Finally, I want to thank our reviewer, Dr. Gonzalez, who again was my professor for many years when I was a younger man, keynote speaker, Ambassador Rogers from Australia, who I know it is hard for him to be up this time because he's a very busy man, but I also appreciated, and I didn't hear it before, his insights to what we're doing here as a former ambassador. I think that is very telling. They have shown their dedication and willingness to participate in these events and other events such as this and help us move forward in ways that we probably couldn't without their advice or support, and that's pretty cool. And again, to contributors, I look at the fantastic work that has been done to try to guide the region into making decisions based on evidence. And hopefully one day it will translate into policy. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? They're scholars, they're practitioners, they're good people, they're regional people. And that's pretty cool, one way or the other. I'd also like to thank even though he's not been able to be here, the Minister of Labour, who's always supported the college and progress in the region. And while I would hope it would be all ministers, I will applaud him for that. And of course, I thank you for being here and supporting the initiative, whether it is from a personal standpoint or regional interest, academic interest, or whatever interest. But again, it's important to us, all of us, editors, contributors, and the college, that you're here to celebrate with us what we are trying to do and will continue trying to do probably for the next 20 years. Blessings, and thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Anatol, and thank you for your time. If I might draw your attention to the final item on our program, that's a bit of a typo. It's not going to be a book signing, it's going to be signing up to get your books. Yes? So, is that correct? Yes? So pardon? Signing up to get your books. This is what we'll be doing at this stage? Right. So you all, thank you for your time and your energy, and do ensure that you're among the first to get your copies of, and let me announce the name of this tremendous book, The Changing Political and Socio-Economic Environment in the Caribbean and Latin America, Prospects and Challenges. Thank you so much for your time, and go safely to your next portal of destiny. Thank you.